The older man in the tailored suit leans forward, now fully certain. He has spent years discovering talent, and this young man, this waiter, has something rare. His mind races with possibilities, but he hesitates. He needs to see what happens next. The restaurant manager takes a step forward, ready to defuse the situation if it escalates. The last thing she wants is a scene. She knows this woman's temper, knows how she can turn a simple moment into something bigger. But she also sees a shift happening in the room. People aren't just waiting to see what the woman will say, they're waiting to see what the waiter will do next. The waiter stands still, chest rising and falling with deep breaths. He doesn't lower his gaze. He doesn't apologize. He did exactly what she asked. But now, there's a quiet strength in his eyes, something unshaken. A slow clap breaks the silence. It's hesitant at first, coming from the elderly woman in the corner. Then another person joins in, and another. Soon, a wave of applause fills the restaurant, people nodding, smiling, murmuring in awe. A few even stand. The wealthy woman's face flushes. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was in control. She was the one who gave orders, the one who laughed while others obeyed. But now, she's the one being watched, judged. The attention isn't on her wealth, her power, it's on him. She pushes back her chair even further, the sharp noise cutting through the applause. The clapping slows. Some diners exchange nervous glances. The tension is razor-thin, the moment balanced on the edge of something unpredictable. The waiter finally speaks, his voice calm but firm. "Is that what you wanted?" The woman's lips part slightly, as if to say something, but nothing comes out. The silence stretches between them, heavy and unbreakable. And then, just when it seems like the moment can't hold any more weight, she lifts her chin, her expression unreadable. The entire restaurant waits. What will she do? What will she say? And most importantly, what happens now? The restaurant holds its breath. The wealthy woman stands motionless, her perfectly polished nails tapping lightly against the table. For a brief moment, something flickers across her face, confusion, disbelief, maybe even admiration, but it vanishes just as quickly. Then, without a word, she reaches into her designer purse, pulls out a crisp stack of bills, and tosses them onto the table. The air is thick with tension. A tip? An insult? No one is sure. The waiter doesn't move. His expression remains steady, unreadable. He doesn't reach for the money, doesn't react to the murmurs spreading through the restaurant. Then, just as the wealthy woman turns to leave, the older man in the tailored suit stands up. "I'd like a word with you," he says, directing his gaze at the waiter. His voice is calm but firm, the kind that commands attention. The woman stops mid-step, glancing over her shoulder. For the first time that night, she isn't the center of attention. The man continues, stepping closer. "That voice, where did you learn to sing like that?" The waiter hesitates, shifting on his feet. He wasn't expecting this. He was ready for more condescension, maybe even anger. But not this. Not interest, not curiosity. He stops himself, eyes scanning the room. Every face is waiting, watching. He's never been good at talking about himself, never thought anyone would care. The woman scoffs, arms crossing. "Oh, please, you think this," she gestures vaguely, "means something. He's a waiter. He had his little moment. Let's move on." But no one moves. The energy in the room has shifted, and for the first time, she's the one out of place. The older man doesn't acknowledge her. His attention is locked onto the waiter. "I work in the music industry," he says, reaching into his pocket. "And I know talent when I hear it." He hands the waiter a business card. "If you're interested, call me." The woman lets out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "You can't be serious." But the man ignores her. The waiter stares down at the card in his hand, his mind racing. Is this real? Could this be the moment that changes everything? Before he can respond, the woman steps forward, lowering her voice. "Don't get ahead of yourself," she sneers. "People like you don't just get opportunities like this. You're just The words hang in the air, unfinished. She catches herself, realizing the weight of what she was about to say. The entire restaurant is silent again. A few diners shift uncomfortably in their seats. The waiter lifts his head, his voice steady. Just a what? The woman swallows hard. She's lost control of the moment, and she knows it. But what she does next shocks everyone. Instead of walking away, she picks up one of the bills she had thrown on the table and holds it out to him. "Sing another song," she says, her voice softer this time. But this time, it doesn't sound like a command. It sounds like a request. The waiter looks at her, then at the business card still in his other hand. His heart pounds. He has a choice to make. And the entire restaurant is waiting to see what he'll do next. The restaurant is silent, waiting. The waiter's fingers tighten around the business card, his heart pounding. He looks at the wealthy woman, at the bill she's holding out. For the first time, there's no mockery in her expression, just something he can't quite read. The moment stretches, heavy with unspoken words. Then, slowly, he exhales. He steps forward, but instead of taking the money, he gently pushes it back toward her. "I don't sing for money," he says, his voice steady. "Not like this." A ripple of whispers spreads through the crowd. The woman's lips part slightly, caught off guard. No one had ever turned down her money before. No one had ever denied her power. She stares at him, something flickering in her eyes, frustration, embarrassment, or something else entirely. The older man watches closely, intrigued. "Then what do you sing for?" he asks. The waiter looks around the room, at the people still watching him, waiting. And then, without another word, he closes his eyes and begins to sing again. But this time, it's different. This time, it's not for her, not to prove a point. This time, it's for himself. His voice is richer, fuller, unburdened by the weight of the moment. It's not about defiance anymore. It's about passion, about something that can't be bought or controlled. The melody flows effortlessly, pulling everyone in, silencing even the whispers. The elderly woman in the corner wipes away another tear. The couple leans in, drawn into the magic of it. Even the restaurant staff stops what they're doing, caught in the moment. And then something no one expects happens. The wealthy woman, the same one who tried to humiliate him, the same one who had scoffed at the idea of his talent, she slowly sinks back into her chair. Her shoulders drop, her gaze softens. And then, almost hesitantly, she reaches for her glass of wine and takes a quiet sip, listening, really listening. When the last note fades, the silence that follows is different. It's not tense. It's not awkward. It's reverent. The businessman smiles, impressed. "You don't need my card," he says simply. "You already know who you are." He nods toward the other diners. "And now, so does everyone else." The waiter looks down at the card still in his hand, then at the people around him. A slow realization washes over him. He had never needed validation from her, or from anyone. His voice had already spoken for itself. The wealthy woman doesn't say a word. She finishes her drink, sets the glass down carefully, and without another glance, stands up and walks toward the door. But just as she reaches it, she pauses for the briefest moment. Then, with a deep breath, she walks out, disappearing into the night. The waiter watches her go, not with anger, not with triumph, just understanding. Some lessons take longer to learn. The manager lets out a breath, finally breaking the silence. Then, one by one, people start clapping. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's warm, genuine. The waiter smiles, tucking the business card into his pocket. He doesn't know what comes next. But for the first time in a long time, he knows one thing for sure. His voice will never be silenced again. As the applause dies down, the restaurant slowly returns to life, but something feels different. The energy in the room has shifted, like everyone has just witnessed something bigger than a song. The waiter takes a deep breath, feeling lighter, freer. He doesn't know what will come of tonight, whether he'll take the businessman's offer or continue down his own path. But for the first time, he's not afraid of what's next. The manager gives him a small nod, one that says more than words ever could. The elderly woman smiles warmly, as if she sees something in him that reminds her of someone she once knew. The couple, still holding hands, whispers to each other, their eyes filled with admiration. As he walks back toward the kitchen, the waiter pauses for a moment, glancing at the door where the wealthy woman had disappeared. Maybe she'll forget this night. Maybe she won't, but he knows he never will.